So today we're going to look at perspective drawings. Now, this is something that I really actually enjoy drawing. It's almost like a puzzle. I say often these are like puzzles, but I have an example here. So this is just a corridor in the school. And when I say perspective, what I mean is this corridor obviously isn't getting smaller as it goes off into the distance. It is the horizon line. So the horizon would be around here, and there would be a point here, roughly. And then all of these lines line up, okay? Here, these windows, even this part of the windows, they would all line up and there would be a point there. Now, to demonstrate the point, I've added some lines in just to kind of give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So, there are different types of perspective drawings. This is what is known as a one-point perspective. There are ones where, and we'll talk about this in later videos, but there's one where there's a point over here, a point over here, and some of your lines are going this way and some of your lines are going off into this direction. But for now, we're just going to look at one-point perspective. So, when I was in school, I actually drew this picture here. It was a picture, obviously, of the London Underground. And I asked my mum, and she still got it. So I managed to get, this is a photocopy of it. But you can see all of these lines line up. And this was just a drawing I did quite a while ago now. And the point would be around here. Okay, and what I did was I took a selection of photos. I think it was like a panoramic type photo or multiple photos, joined them together, and then I drew a picture out. So this is obviously quite old, but you get the idea. Weirdly, years later, I did this drawing here. So this was a drawing I did, and again, I say weirdly because it features the London Underground. This was a drawing I did where, again, it's perspective, and the point would be behind this gentleman here. You notice all of the lines, even these lines here, going off into distance. If you had a point, they would all connect up. And again, this was a photo of a collection. It's actually a collection of different photos I did on the London Underground. Full disclosure, this was one of my friends from university. Hello, Ram. I took a couple of photos and I joined them all together. I drew the background first, and then actually I drew this person separately and photoshopped him on top, basically. And then I coloured it in. I'm not expecting us to colour it in, but you get the idea. So that was just a piece of work, and you can see all of the lines, even the shine on the floor there. I've tried to make sure they all join up. So that's just a bit of background. Okay, we're going to have a go. We're going to build up to more complicated designs, but for today, the first step is I'm going to get us to use a block of text, a selection of text, and I'm going to get us to write that out and then do perspective as if it's the writing is going off into the distance. So it's like big slab letters standing upright. So what I suggest you do is you do a vanishing point or as X at the top of your page somewhere, and I would draw two lines out. Okay, so draw two lines out, and you can write, I would say for this task, write your name. Okay, you could write maybe your first name or your surname, I don't mind what it is, but try and do it in block letters. Now because this YouTube channel is called Sketch with Tech, I've just written sketch. Okay, so that's what I've done, and I've boxed the lettering out. I've tried to make it kind of squared off. I've put a couple of curves on the end, but aim for the text like this, really. Now, you could, if you want to go at your own pace and you are comfortable just doing one word or maybe your first name, you can do. If you really want to stretch and challenge yourself, you could have multiple sections. So you could have your first name and your surname if you wish. So I've done sketch with tech. So I've done this. Now, the idea is these letters will go off into the distance. So they'll be 3D. If I just draw one of them, okay, imagine they're going to that line, okay? This will be slightly off, but I'm just trying to say that it makes like a 3D effect like that. And then this would also be 3D on the layer in front. So it would be like, oh, that's bad. But you get the idea. I'm trying to draw this quickly. it's as if these letters are standing in a block like so, maybe like a Stonehenge in a configuration, and then these are in the row in front of it. If you don't want to do a second row, you just want to experiment just doing one to begin with, that is completely wrong. These, just to reiterate, should be coming from this point here, and use a ruler. Okay, I'm not using a ruler here. But to save time, I've drawn that out. So I've done that. Okay, I've put all of my lines and I've drawn them going to that point. Now, I don't want the letters to be this long. They're only actually going to be this long here. So if it helps you, you don't have to draw your lines right the way to the end point. If you wish to, you can, but draw them lightly so you can rub them out. Then, obviously, as I'm saying, I only want the letters to be about this long, and then eventually you won't see that part. Okay, so that much depth to the lettering. I've drawn that in advance, so I've done that, and then, as I started before, I'm mirroring this shape. So if that shape is like that, I will go down, but obviously then it would go behind so you can't see. I would go down here. This has a curve on this edge and this has a curve on this edge, so you are placing those curves like that. Okay, what else? This K, that letter would be going down like so. There's a slight curve to that S, so that would curve in, and you might not see that curve just because of that angle, but I would do that. And I've drawn this line in as well, because now I'm going to do the same with this lettering, okay? But I'm going to make sure that the depth of these letters only go that deep. So I've just started randomly at this T, but I would say I'm drawing my letters in like this. Then I would do the next one, get my point, make sure it all lines up. Okay, like so. And again, these ones will be the same. Okay, there might be a bit there, but you probably won't see it because it's almost straight on. And these letters here would be the same. Again, they'd all be lining up. To save time, I've got that. But to save time, I've then rubbed out the elements I don't need. So I've rubbed those out because it might start to get complicated, and I've drawn this thick and thin line technique like what I've shown you before, so that you can see that those letters stand out. And as I say, the next step, building these letters up. Remember though, that this S would be behind, wouldn't it? So you need to bear in mind that you would still see parts of the letters from behind. So that E there, you would see that, and it would still be going along there. So don't rub those lines out too much, because you are going to see elements of them. You might see a bit of the C in between there perhaps, or but you'll see the next step. So that's it, bit further along, but still not quite finished. And I'm just then going over, rubbing out what I don't need. Okay, like so. And I would then do thick and thin line technique. And when you've done that, what I would like you to do as a added bonus is I would like you to think, okay, well, like we've done before when we've looked at light, where is the light coming from? So imagine the light is here looking straight at the item, okay? So it means that this front panels, the front parts of the letters, they're going to be relatively light. They'll have a bit of colour to them. But in here, where the shadow is applied, that will be darker, okay? So I would say, well, we need to make sure we apply some colour here. And again, you're building up lightly and then you keep adding to it, okay? So I will say like so. And remember, that is a bit of a curve around there. So you can just put lines in just to kind of amplify that or accentuate that. This would be dark here, wouldn't it? Because it is in the shadow. But then as it probably comes to the more of the front surface here, it would get lighter. So it would start dark and it would get lighter. Okay, and as I've said before, in the other videos where we add texture, you could add lines like this and it almost gives it, you know, like a type of texture effect, okay? This here, remember the colouring would be like this. I'm doing this very quickly. Okay, and you'd build it up and it probably gets darker as it gets to this point here. gets darker and it would be going all the way up. And I would probably put lines in like so, like that. Okay? I've done that and I've finished it. So I've picked red, or it kind of comes out pink on the camera, but I've kind of like a pinky red, and I've then changed so my other text is like a blue. So as I'm saying, this part would obviously be dark. The light would be hitting the front here, straight on, going there. So you would imagine maybe there might be another light on the top here, or it might be actually straight on, but the main point is that it would be darker as it gets further away. So I've tried to build that up, but it probably takes multiple layers, multiple attempts to get that to that stage, okay? If you don't get onto the colouring or the rendering, don't worry so much. It's more about finishing that first name, last name, and making sure your block letters all aim off into the correct vanishing point, okay? Right, give it a go and stay tuned for part 2.